Hey, what's up, guys? Tuki here, back again with another episode of Draft to Glory Goon Squad. And the good thing is, in today's episode, we're gonna be able to start the sim quite early. We're good to go. There have been a couple of things that I've changed, but I'll show that in a second. Actually, really, it's only been one thing, and then another thing I have to change in the middle of the episode. I hit the wrong button, so that's great. Again, heading into the next draft, we know we have 3 players out of the top 5 that we can look to target: the power forward and the 2 grinders. And in the top 10, at least, we have the hybrid and another power forward. So we're looking at getting another solid addition to this team. One of the things that have changed, though, and it's something that I wanted to do last season, is I went back through with the strategies and I took away the shot blocking aspect of our team. Number 1, I'm assuming, of course, that it will actually reduce the amount of shots we block. But number 2, I'm really intrigued to see, and this was a point brought up in the comment section of the last video, I'm really intrigued to see if it reduces the amount of injuries that our players have been suffering from. Now, the different strategy that I'm going to take here is... it's tough. I'm almost thinking that it's worth, playing Nolan Foote on the 3rd line, right? But then again, he's developed with those top line minutes. That's what Best Line says to go with. But I'm particularly wondering with Hines, if it would be worth playing him on the second pairing. We'll play Jake Dotchin with McDonough. We'll play Jacobs with Hines, and we'll do it that way. So we'll actually have McDonough, Hines, and Likens where they're supposed to be as far as player role. I'm really worried about Hines as far as his development goes. Of course, we've had the issues with him morale-wise that we haven't exactly been able to recover from, although he was happy with his ice time, playing those top line minutes. So I don't know. I mean, if we deal with an injury, you guys know me, I'll probably just out of laziness go with the Best Lines options. But of course, everything is pretty much good to go. The one bit of concern somebody had, and I can't remember your username, and I'm sorry, but was that it might be worth bumping Connor Roberts up to the 4th line. I don't necessarily disagree with that. I want to see if he progresses at the AHL level first, and I compare it to the situation that we saw with Bob Menard in the Hartford series, where he was a depth forward. We tried playing him on the 4th line to see if he'd develop, and he wouldn't. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So we're going to keep him down in the AHL for now. That said, I think it pretty much covers everything. I just wanted to drop Hines down to the second pairing. We'll see if he complains about lack of ice time or whatever. But we're pretty much good to go. We can jump right into it. Nothing major, needs to be taken care of at this point in time. So let's do this. We'll see how good of time we can make throughout the season sim. And, of course, we'll see whether or not we can get away with, whether or not we can get away with going... How do I want to phrase this? Because I started this off on the wrong foot with the wrong words, and now there's really no way to get to where to the point that I originally wanted to make. Can we avoid injuries? That's what I'm wondering. That's what I was trying to say. Had to make it difficult for some reason, which is fine, as John Stevens was a little bit banged up, but nothing too major. Of course, last year we barely avoided finishing in last, and there we go. Nick Krediles is out immediately, so that's not an ideal start. Just a coincidence, I'm sure. We have Englund and Bruce that could end up playing, and yeah, I'm just going to go Best Lines. There you go. It actually puts Likens in as a forward. Right. I'm not a fan of that. Unless I give him second line time. We'll see if he develops. Why not? I don't think the guy was projected to be out for too long. Krediles, that is. I was going to say Stevens. He was the one that already came back from injury. So we'll see how this season goes. Krediles is back. I do now remember, of course, that I'm going to have to put in Likens. I'm going to have to sub him in for Englund. And we'll do just that. So I'm not sure if Likens will get any extra time. Hopefully, these injuries will prove to be somewhat inconsistent. Hines isn't happy with his recent performance, but I'm actually going to bump up Likens for now too. We'll see how that goes. There's always so many different strategies, and it seems to work differently with every player. Whether or not you should play them in their defined role, whether or not you should give them as much ice time as possible to have them develop. That is one thing I'll give EA credit for, is not every player develops in the same way, which can create some frustrating situations, no doubt, but it can make things a little bit more interesting. As AJ Greer goes down to injury, I mean, we haven't had too many injuries so far, so I guess I'm not too upset about it. Not upset to begin with, but you get the point. Let's bring in Riley Bruce. Englund will be the one that I pretty much keep out of the lineup. Was Hines? No, he was still in 82. Damn it. For a second, I'm like, was he in 84? It looked like he was in 84. Oh, no such luck. Of course, we still got Markstrom and Brodin. Intrigued to see what Brodin can do. So far, so good. I mean, he doesn't have any wins, but through 6 appearances, he has a .916 save percentage. Markstrom, as well, not doing all that great. Justice, though, up to a 78. Still a minor league starting goalie at a 78. I'm not sure if I agree with that. And Roberts still not listed. I'm shocked he's not listed as a fourth liner with his physical category. Now, that's something that seems to be random, where on occasion you could see certain players like that actually, with the more physical category, be a defensive, or not a defensive, but a fourth line guy. Yeah, I got to admit, I'm getting crossed up with my words again simply because I'm like, oh, damn, no webcam. I just realized, like, I was going to do webcam for this video. Too late now. Probably for the best anyway. Because again, it's just another one of those moments where I don't know if I could play up to the camera all that well. Quite tired. Dalton Galley goes down to injury. That's not great for us. Kevin Ball, though, is having a ball with that amount of ice time. I couldn't help myself. I'm sorry. I'm the worst. Anyway, Galley's back. We'll fix the AHL lines. I'm thinking if Roberts hits a 78, we'll be good. We'll take out Vinio. Bring Galley back in. Alcock and Ball continue to improve, which is good. 370 overall defensemen. I mean, that's not terrible, considering, the majority of them are enforcers or defensive D-man with no potential whatsoever. Back-to-back 4-3 wins, by the way, over Colorado and Chicago. We have 5 wins now on the year. Obviously, we are, as Markstrom's hurt, obviously we are going to struggle this year, whether or not... Well, actually, I'm kind of surprised that we're struggling. I mean, this is pretty much the same team we had last year, where we actually were better than expected. So I'm a little bit concerned then about our morale and locker room chemistry when it comes to, that confirmation of not making the postseason, because you never know just how bad that spike in morale is going to be. But we're pretty much destined for that. I can't say I'm all that excited about having the number 1 odds in the lottery, because when does it ever work out for us? Very rarely. Englund is pissed off about his lack of ice time. Too bad, boy. Too bad. I was going to say son and bra, and it came out bois. So that's good. Right. I am on my game today, let me tell you. And I mean, that's what I'm saying here. I don't think I could have pulled off. You know what? Maybe it would have been better to have webcam for this episode, as you could just see the look of disappointment on my face. Not in anybody else, but in myself, for how this episode's gone so far, the first 8.5, 9 minutes. I mean, I don't know what I'm talking about, though. It's been great, right? Perfect. Bringing my A game. No doubt. Englund, you'll at least get some ice time, so maybe you can stop complaining. Aren't I paying Englund like $15 million? Like, his morale should never dip. He shouldn't care unless he has that true love for the game, which, let's be honest, who wouldn't? I don't care how competitive you are, how much pride you have. If you're getting paid $5 million more than Carey Price, I think you're going to be all right with just sitting up in the press box. Maybe it's just me, but I don't care how badly I want to win cups or whatever. I mean, then again, if you want to win cups, you shouldn't have signed with this team, so it's kind of your fault to begin with, don't you think? Anyway, oh boy. Okay, so the injuries are still adding up. Maybe they're not as consistent as they were last season and the season before that, But, they're still happening, which I guess is to be expected. The thing I've noticed about a lot of the players in the draft over these past couple of seasons, a lot of the durability ratings are incredibly low. And I'm not sure why. Along with a lot of centers not having anything on their faceoffs, whether that be players who are actually in the game at the moment, like Nolan Patrick, at least at the start of this game. I don't know if they've changed it, but he didn't have anything on faceoffs. You still have a lot of centers that don't have anything on their faceoff rating, not even rookies. And that'll still happen in the draft, and also, like I mentioned, the durability ratings will be quite low. Not sure what's up with that. But thankfully, we've gone on a good stretch here. We're almost to the deadline already. We're not even, we're like, 10 minutes into this video? And we're almost to the deadline. This is record time. I guess that's what happens when we don't have to deal with an injury every other day. So that's nice. Although Matti Solani's still not back to 100%, huh? We have 16 wins now on the season. 3 straight wins. 4 straight wins, by the way. The Anaheim Ducks. We've caught fire. 5 straight wins. 6 straight wins through the middle of February. Holy shit, the run ends against the Blackhawks, but we're up to 19 wins now on the season. Matti Solani is coming back, which is solid. That is the best winning streak we have had ever in this series. We're in 2024, and we go on that big of a winning streak. That is incredible. Let's see here. Roberts, still listed as a minor league checking forward, having a very strong season. He's 24 now, which is a little bit concerning. Nobody has an overall high enough that we have to worry about. We'll take out Vainio for Solani. Alcock is a 71, which is pretty solid. We've definitely had some progression from some of these players. It just sucks that someone like Yuri Listen is going to basically be a fringe fourth liner at best. I also don't understand how Justice isn't a backup goalie. I believe the lowest overall for a backup goalie is a 78, so he is very close. If I'm not mistaken, the overall range for a backup goalie is 78 to 82, and 82 is also the lowest overall a starter can be, as we lose Jamie Alexiak to injury, but no big deal there. The Gulls are actually on pace to make the playoffs, which is extremely impressive given that it's a team of just our prospects. So I talked about how we were more than likely to struggle. Maybe, compared to the original Draft to Glory where, we wouldn't have players like this on our team, right? At least not at this stage. Compared to that, also it puts Likens in the lineup by default now. That's tremendous. Compared to that, certain players wouldn't be in the lineup, I guess. Like the majority of these players would actually be at the NHL level, and we'd be trying to develop them from there. So I guess there is a difference, and we could expect them to be a little bit better at this stage than they would have been in the original series last year. Of course, the morale system is a big part of that, which, boy, don't I regret that. But hey, it's created its own challenges. Likens is out basically for the rest of the season, so that's not an ideal way for his year to come to an end. Tom Wilson also goes down to injury. Here we go. It's not... Jesus, Zach Aronson goes down to injury. Here's the every other day trend that I was talking about. My God. Somehow we've won consecutive games despite these injuries. 24 wins on the year. And there's another one. Jamie Alexiak goes down. Tom Wilson's back. But man, this is crazy. I guess EA just wanted to save it for the end of the season? I guess? Ridiculous, man. Absolutely ridiculous. Let's get Aronson back in the lineup. He's up to a 75. He's got a good chance of being an impact player for us. He and Connor Roberts have worked very well together. Larry Flynn as well. He's 22. A lot of these players, a lot of these fringe players, that we were hoping would be able to develop from 50 overalls, mid 50s to, maybe the low 60s. That player development hasn't quite been there. Jesus, the amount of injuries is simply unreal right now. Alexiak is back, which is nice. As we have 2 games left this season, we're going to sim to the 8th. And we'll be able to take a look at the rookie race from there as we finish with a 26-48-8 regular season record. 51 wins, though, for the San Diego Gulls. Not too shabby. Let's take a look at some stats, shall we? We'll take a look at both the NHL and the AHL level. We'll take a look at the progress reports again just before the draft. So 26 wins on the year. Finished last in the division. I imagine we finished last in the league. Indeed we did. So we have the number one odds, at least, in the lottery. So that's good for what it's worth. It would be nice to at least end up with the top 3 pick. Jay Graves led the team in points. Not too shabby. 68-65 for Abraham Zanetti. 26 goals. And 51 for Nolan Foote. 44 for Anderson McDonald. Who else do we care about? Frederick McDonough, 22 points, 13 goals, 9 assists. He was a minus 14. Anybody else that we care about? Hines, 10 points in 82 games. Likens with 10 points in 72. Right. Let's see. The plus-minus leader on the team was Graves at a minus 6. The worst on the team was Stevens at a minus 23. Penalty minute-wise, Jake Dotchin is still like the epitome of a goon. So that's tremendous. Let's take a look here at the hits. Goes to Frederick McDonough. He's a monster. 94 overall, now 22 years old. And, I mean, the blocks are a little bit lower than they were the year before, if I'm not mistaken. I feel like McDonough had probably 50-ish less blocks this season. Am I allowed to see that stat? I mean, no, not even. I mean, McDonough had 22 fewer blocks this year, but more hits. So that's not conclusive evidence as to whether or not the in-game strategies actually do anything. Hines had more blocks this year. Quite a few more, 24 more. So, I don't know. On the side of whether or not in-game strategies do anything, I don't know, guys. I know the jury was still out for some of you, but McDonough had fewer, slightly fewer blocks. Hines had more, so I'm not convinced. But it's weird, though, that we did have fewer injuries. So I don't know. It's funny because I can fully admit my mind isn't made up. I mean, there are people who make arguments for saying that the strategies actually do something when you sim, and there are people who say, no, absolutely not. I've held both opinions at points, and I wanted to use the block shots there to try and get some sort of definitive proof. I can't find it, at least there. As Jake Dotchin once again led the league in fights. Blocks went to Cal Foote. The hit king was Spencer Horkoff. McDonough was second. All right, what about the penalty minute king? Jake Dotchin, no surprise. Rookie-wise, Dylan Lynn's going to take it. I mean, it's going to be very tough, obviously. I'm shocked that Anderson McDonald won a Calder. It's going to be very tough for us to win a Calder at any point. I wanted to look at AHL scoring because we might as well follow along. I mean, we're under 20 minutes into this video already, and we're at the end of the year. We might as well follow along with the Gulls as they look to make a postseason push. So Kelly Downing with 64 points led the way. Connor Roberts with 60. Larry Flynn with 56. Tokarski and Aronson also beat the 50-point mark. That is tremendous. I'll scroll through this so you guys can look on your own time if you care about everybody's individual stats. Justice with a .933 save percentage, and Mikkola also did tremendously well. So that explains quite a bit. 51 wins, I imagine that's enough for a division title. It was not. They lost 5 points fewer than Tucson, who had the overtime losses. So they'll be playing, or will be playing, the Ontario Reign in the first round. So let's go ahead and keep an eye out on that, because there's really no point in looking at the progress reports just this moment, or at this moment. So let's do this. Our first playoff games, it's with the AHL squad, to the surprise of pretty much nobody. We know that we're playing the Ontario Reign. Thankfully, aside from losing morale for finishing last, I don't think it's going to completely plummet. So do I want to treat this as an actual playoff video? Not really. Let's sim the first 3 games. Actually, you know what? I do want to go best lines. Quickly, I want to go best lines. Maybe that'll bump up the power play, the penalty kill, given some overall changes, and maybe that'll give them slightly better odds. So we want to take Koivisto out of the lineup. And who's going to sit? Probably, or who's going to get into the lineup? It's going to be Gabo, Gillies, or a coin. I'm probably going to give it to Gabo. Yeah, I'm going to give it to the power forward and Gabo. And that was it. Other than that, it is just all our players at this point, which is tremendous. And the defense is basically the same, except we got to take out Vainio for Rourke and swap him. And there we go. Not too shabby. Goaltending's fine with Justice leading the way. Let's do this. And hopefully going best lines didn't screw things up. I could have switched the lines back to what I wanted, but knowing that the power play and penalty kill will be a bit more optimized, that's what I was hoping for. And the 4-on-4 lines. So I'm going to sim the first 3 games. We'll see what happens. As Likens is back. That's solid. It's a 4-2 loss in game 1. Kerdiles is back. Whoopee. It's a 3-1 loss, and we held on in game 3 with a 1-0 shutout victory. So we'll jump into game 4. Our backs are against the wall in this best of 5 after losing the first 2 games of this series. First period of game 4, and we split the goals there, 1 apiece. Seabach and Downing, scoring on Thomas Greiss, by the way. We were outshot 13-6. Second period, again, 1 goal apiece. Merritt and Herdina, 24 shots to 14 in their favor. Third period, can the Gulls keep their season alive? Or will the dream end here? The very first bit of playoff action we have had in this series for either team. Herdina with another goal. We're up 3-2. Power play opportunity that we wasted there. There's a good chance we're going to force game 5. 2 minutes to go. And indeed we will. Herdina with a 2-goal game. And the San Diego Gulls have forced game 5. Roman Herdina. Justice Anuin with 31 saves. Kevin Ball with 2 assists. And we have at least made it difficult on the Ontario Reign. We have put the pressure on, which is all we could have really hoped to do. Game 5, though, you never know. There may be a miracle yet. First period on home ice here, and that's the start we needed. Kelly Downing with the opening goal. Second period, that's not what we wanted. I believe that's Corey Perry, and that's hilarious. We're all tied up despite us out shooting them 25-16. It's 1 goal apiece as we start the third period, and Corey Perry scores again. At least I presume it's Corey Perry. He probably hasn't retired at this point. We have a power play opportunity that we're able to take advantage of. Flynn has tied the game up, and at this point, next goal will probably win this game and the series as a result. Another power play opportunity, an extended power play opportunity at that we couldn't take advantage of. And as a result, we're going to overtime. The series is on the line. Early power play chance for the Reign is killed off. We are 5 minutes in, which is shocking in and of itself. And Tokarski gets the goal. The San Diego Gulls have a playoff victory. It was Corey Perry. Unfortunately, the veteran could not do enough. We have ourselves a playoff victory in this series, even if it's in the AHL with the Ontario Reign or with the San Diego Gulls as we defeated the Ontario Reign. I'm feeling pretty damn good. Unfortunately, we get to play Tucson, and they have home ice advantage to the surprise of no one. We'll keep marching on here. Let's sim the first 3 games of the series. It's a 4-3 loss, a 3-1 loss, and a 4-2 loss. All right, well, it was a good run. We had a postseason victory. We get swept by Tucson. Hardly ideal, but damn it, we'll take a victory where we can get it. We at least beat the Ontario Reign. I do wonder if the sim engine would have been a little bit more kind had we done the in-depth sim. But we don't want to put too much emphasis on it, I guess, unless the team really started to look like they might find success. But overall, a strong season for the San Diego Gulls. They just ran into a force in Tucson. Kind of a shame, though, that they only finished a few more points ahead of us. What was it, 5 points based off of overtime losses? and we were swept. That is tremendously disappointing, I must admit. But them's the breaks. Tucson went on to win the Calder Cup. The Columbus Blue Jackets are your Stanley Cup champions, so the cup goes back to the Eastern Conference. We'll take a look at the Blue Jackets, the awards, and player progression. And then, at the half an hour mark or so, it'll be time for the draft. This is tremendous. This is a tremendous pace we're on, as the Blue Jackets beat the St. Louis Blues. Hell of a series there, 7 games to decide the Stanley Cup. We'll take a look at what their team looks like. I might also look at Tucson. We'll see. I might as well. Why not? What's the rush, right? So their forward core are headlined by Taylor Hall and Alex Nylander, Mark Scheifele as well. Mikael Granlund, not Marcus. Michael Dal Cole is there. Jonathan Dahlin, James Neal, Sonny Milano, Connor Brickley, Valentin Zykov, Alex Chason, Matt Nieto, Colton Sissons, and Nicholas Nordgren. Not exactly the most impressive team, but they were able to get it done. Eunice Brodin, Oli Olivi, Christian Juice, Brendan Dillon, Gustav Forsling, and Victor Antipin. Good for Brendan Dillon to get away from this team and go on to win a cup. Carter Hart, 89 overall, was the starting goaltender. So, it's a well-rounded team, as I meant to stay there. It's a well-rounded team, but it's nothing like overly dominant where you're like, yeah, I can definitely see why they won. Like, I can understand why they won, but it wasn't anything too crazy. The Tucson Roadrunners, 76-77. Yeah, I'd say they probably had the advantage overall-wise. What did their defense look like? Jorgen Seidenberg's a bit of a monster. Gilson, I remember when he was drafted. Or unless other Gilson names pop up. They only had a 72 overall goalie, but he killed it. I don't know. I'm kind of disappointed now after looking at their team that we were swept, but it happens. We at least made the playoffs. So the Blue Jackets win the Stanley Cup. We'll take a look at the awards here. McDavid wins the Art Ross. The Hart goes to Malkin. Unreal what he's done in this series. Brody wins the Norris for St. Louis. Connor McDavid, the Lady Byng. Lynn wins the Calder for Pittsburgh. Conn Smythe goes to Carter Hart. And for the past 5 years at least, it has gone to a goaltender. The Vezina goes to Matt Murray, as does the Jennings. Dwyer wins the Masterton. McDavid the Selke for the 4th year out of the last 5. Malkin wins the Ted Lindsay, which is unreal. And Stamkos the Rocket Richard. Down in the AHL, though, I feel like this is our best chance to actually get some hardware, although I'm not thinking that's going to happen. Nope, it didn't. We had a pretty damn strong year, but we weren't able to walk away with any kind of hardware. So, at this point, it's player progression. We'll take one more look at the draft class, and then we're there. Draft to glory, half an hour or so, and we'll make it to a draft. As Frederick McDonough really didn't improve. 3 ratings into poise, and that was it. Nolan Foote, holy shit, is an 87 overall. We drafted him at high top 6. He's now medium elite at 23 years old and an 87 overall. That is incredible. Jay Graves is a legit 83, currently showing up as an 85. Hines is still an 82. Which is looking like where he's going to cap out. The poise rating improved. Zanetti is a legit 80, showing up though as an 82. I thought he was showing up as an 85 earlier this year though, so that's kind of crazy. Anderson McDonald, no progression whatsoever. I think he's going to... he was showing up as an 82. It's showing him as an 80 now, so that's a little bit disappointing. Likens with some improvement. He's up to a 78. Not too bad for a 19-year-old. Anybody else here? Connor Roberts is a 76/77. Brodin had some improvement, but is still a 77. Downing is a 75/76. And then down in the system, Justice is a 77, flat out. Oh, let's see. Sjugren is a 75, so no improvement from him, which is pretty disappointing. Zach Aronson's a 74. He was definitely showing up as a 75 earlier, so that has to do with morale, of course. Yuri Lyson is a 73. Primo is a 73. Rodney Thompson up to a 73. Tokarski kind of capping out at a 72. Mikkel is a 71. Herdina went up by 1 point, as did Flynn. Alcock still kind of a 70. Stephon Lapointe, the other goalie goaltender that we have, went up by 5 points, which is pretty solid. Anything else? Pete Lang goes up by 3. Not too bad. Rourke goes up by 2. My God, Ethan Cowan goes up by 8 points to a 68, despite being low top 6, 20 years old. I mean, that's the most progression he will ever see. Barlow's up 1 point. Gabo's up a point. Beta's up by 2. Neil Green's up by 3, as is Clint Arnott. Josh Okoye went up by 2. Rich Rawlings went up by 4. Maurer up by 2. Dalmont up by 5. Lettinen up by 1. Lalancette by 4. Carter by 3. So some fairly decent progression. Like, just in general, of course, the team continues to improve. The most impressive bit of progression, without a doubt, comes from Nolan Foote. That is ridiculous to see how good he is now. We'll take one more look at that draft class just to see if the board has changed throughout the season. I doubt it. And indeed, power forward and the grinders are still there. We know the power forward's solid. I mean, could you imagine how good that grinder is? He's probably medium elite, but it's looking good. As long as we don't get screwed out of a top 5 pick, I can't imagine the first 3 picks will be grinder, power forward. That would be unreal. Do we have any information on potential steals? That's my question. We do not. We don't really. The only guy here would be Pody, who doesn't really fit the bill. So nothing too crazy there, unfortunately. But we kind of have our targets. We know that there are a ton of enforcers in this draft, whether that be a forward or defenseman, so we don't have to worry about that too much. The only thing to worry about here is the lottery and whether or not we're going to lose a player, much like Big Reg, who retired last season. So here we go. The lottery results, and we have the 4th pick. Rangers, Islanders, and Stars jump us. It technically could have been worse. We have the 4th pick. I would like to assume we're going to end up with at least one of the 2 grinders or the power forward. I can't imagine that we won't. It'd be a bit of a disaster if we don't, as we lose Tuukka Rask to retirement. No real surprise there, but nobody else. No early retirements. I want to see if Malkin retired. And he didn't. Malkin's still hanging in there. Bergeron retires. Koivu, Krejci, Stastny, among other notable names. So, unfortunately, we miss out on the number 1 overall pick, which I have a feeling is going to be that power forward. It technically could have been worse. Not by much, but we expected it at this point, right? So, let's see. The Rangers with the number 1 pick take Ballard, the 2-way. 79 overall, medium elite. Okay, we wouldn't have taken him anyway. And the other 2-way goes. So yeah, we are guaranteed to end up with who we want to end up with. Rudder was also half decent. Will it be a grinder or the power forward? It's the power forward. Stewart is medium elite, 74 overall, which means we have the 2 grinders to pick between. They're both showing up as high elite with high league interest. That does not make this decision very easy. Oh, God. I mean, it's a shot in the dark to end up with the better one. They're both 18. Cowan has the size advantage. Bunch of red numbers, though, so that doesn't really help us. We do have greens, though, with Wharton. Good defensive awareness and shot blocking. Decent aggressiveness. Decent speed. For that reason, I think it has to be Wharton. 79 defensive awareness. You'd like to think he's going to at least be a 70 overall. He's the smaller of the 2. We're going to go for him, though. Jonas Wharton is going to be our pick from the Victoria Royals, 4th overall. And he's a 70. That's probably weaker than the other one, right? No, in fairness, we picked the right guy. All right, well, that's a first. We end up with a guy who is 2 overall points higher. Obviously, the power forward is who we would have liked to have ended up with, but Wharton, at the very least, is still a fairly solid pick. So I'm not really complaining. We got a medium elite grinder with that selection. And it probably wouldn't have been anything game-changing. Tiervainen, 60 overall, but medium elite. Ruchin was half decent. Anybody else here? course, I'm going to skip through all of these. Cardwell, half-decent power forward. No major steals yet. This draft has been fairly decent, though, as far as, being here at the 18th pick, now the 19th, and you're still getting good potentials. Gaudette's medium elite, but at 51. I mean, right now I'm paying more attention to overalls, as we know the potentials are still fairly solid. Vegas medium elite, there you go, 53 overall. Same for the Blues. This could be an interesting draft. We have the first pick of the second round. Not really sure who we would end up with here. Oh, let's take a look. An offensive defenseman in Allen. Only 5'8", of course. He doesn't fit the bill. Frank Reefers does, though. The 6'5" German two-way. He could be my one exception pick. That's kind of what I'm wanting to do, is only planning on making like one exception pick who doesn't fit the bill of player type, as long as they fit the bill of the right size, because then we can change them to power forward. He fits the bill. Travis Watson does not. Goaltenders I'm not really worried about. I don't really have to be. Although I'm sure one of these two is probably fairly decent. Later here in the second round, this two-way. Nope, doesn't really fit what we're looking for. Couple of snipers. Don't know anything about these guys either. That sniper probably going to be in the 60s, let's be honest. But doesn't really fit the bill anyway. This exact elite two-way, but he doesn't fit the bill, guys. I know. I would take him. Absolutely. I would take him. It's not the point of the series. We wanted that extra challenge. If this was regular Draft to Glory, which, hey, we might do later this year anyway, it would make sense. I'm thinking that guy at the top of the list there is going to be like my exemption pick for this draft. I think it's worth taking the risk on him than over anybody else, even that exact top 4 guy. So the German Frank Reefers, because it sounds more funny. Played in the SHL. The German is our pick. Just don't be medium top 9, please. Medium top 6, 62 overall. Not too shabby. I will take that. It certainly could have been a worse selection. So far, so good through the first 2 rounds. Allen was decent. Paris Hogan, medium elite, 59 overall. Curry was decent. O.D. Marchessault was very good, 76 overall. Yeah, Nielsen, Stefan. Galvis was very solid, of course. No real surprise there. DeFazio was also fairly decent. Bowie, actually, I don't remember how. I might be wrong. I might have looked at DeFazio height and weight-wise. I might have looked at Galvis height and weight-wise, and I could have been wrong. I could double-check right now, actually. Let's see. Who is that? Islanders and Toronto. Let's see. Should I have made the exemption pick for one of those two? Do they kind of fit the bill? DeFazio at 5'11" does not, so I wouldn't have picked him anyway. And then Galvis, 5'11" as well. Okay, so yeah, I mean, at least I didn't screw up and overlook somebody, right? As we'll just go ahead and look through the rest of this round. Let me know if I missed any decent potentials. Like if I'm missing anything crazy, but I'm mainly looking at the overall numbers. Like Ellington's half decent for this stage, and that's really it. So third round, let's see if we can keep the good luck going here. Who do we got left? Nielsen's still on the board. He fits the player type. Doesn't really fit the bill, though, of a goon. You can expect him to be in the 50s, I'd say. 66 defensive awareness. He's not going to be that great. So we have this power forward in William Tamara, 6'5". All right. We also have Korolyuk. Fits the bill as a power forward. We have a grinder in Rintoul, 19, high league interest. I'm kind of intrigued, though, by this guy who doesn't have any league interest whatsoever, but he's 17. That's kind of concerning. Of course, last draft we saw, a 20-year-old grinder with no league interest end up being amazing. You have Hillen as well. Do we go for Tamara? That's my question. Take a look here. Exact top 9 power forward in Ollie. I mean, that's the safe pick, right? That is the safe pick. We know we'd get at least something decent rather than potentially ending up with a medium bottom 6 player. but I don't want to go for the safe pick. I want to go for the home run, which, if this guy was 20, I mean, he still has a chance of being decent. Of course, it's all best guess. I mean, you can have educated guesses. This guy, by the way, could be half decent, probably won't be. Squeaky chair for the win. I think I'm going to go with my gut here. I'm going to go for Tamara. I mean, we don't know anything about him. Let's go for it. William Tamara is my selection, and there you go. Medium bottom 6. I mean, I literally called it. I mean, I flat out said, hey, there was a good chance of this happening, right? Nielsen was medium top 4. Korolyuk wasn't much better. I mean, I literally said there was a good chance of that happening, but oh, god damn it. It's always the grinders, man. It's always the grinders. Medium top 6, 68 overall, Rintoul. Holy shit, that's the pick that we needed. I took the risk with Tamara. I didn't feel like Rintoul was a guarantee, and I absolutely paid for it. Of course, Ollie was only at 53. That sucks, man. The grinder was the one to take. We didn't, and we paid for it. When in doubt, take the grinder, apparently, when you're running Goon Squad, because we have now paid for it in a very big way on multiple occasions. So that's unfortunate. I mean, still, it's a decent selection, but it's nothing. I mean, it could have been better. That's the point. Let's see. We have Finley with no league interest whatsoever. 20 years old with no league interest. That's very promising. We also have a similar situation, potentially in Obergauer. He's 18. Of course, we'll avoid that defensive D-man. Anybody else? Really? Apparently not. Exact bottom 6. Power forward. Defensive D-man is not that great. Goldobin. Dmitry Goldobin is some... Alright, so I'm trying to decide between the Belarusian and Goldobin and Obergauer. Wait, no, it was Finley. Not Obergauer. It was Finley. I'm going to go with Seth Finley. I'm going to trust my gut on this. This is the same type of player that we have missed out on before. So you watch. Now that I'm taking him, he'll be garbage, right? Or not. 20-year-old with no league interest. Take them every time. Finley, medium top 4, 65 overall. This draft is back on track, fellas and ladies, probably. Like 2 of you. Like 2 or 3 of you. Good for you. Anyway, 3 out of 4 selections have been very good for us. So that is promising. We'll call our timeout here. I mean, I don't really think we could have gone with a better selection, really. Because I'm just going to scroll through this fairly quickly. I mean, I don't really see us missing out on anybody. So I was going to say anyone and anybody, and it came out of everybody. Oh, Yzerman was half decent, but, I mean, we ended up with the better guy. And also, it's nice to get a defenseman after our first 3 picks were forwards. So, there we go. Not too shabby. Let's see if we can keep that momentum up as we continue to add to the team. So, as my voice is definitely starting to give out on me, but that's what happens when you stream forever and then have to record videos afterwards. Nathaniel Ludeman. Don't really know anything about him. High league interest. Matthias Zetterberg is also an option. We have the grinder. He's not 20, but I might have to take him just for the sake of him being a grinder with no league interest. We have this power forward with high league interest in Don Reich. And defensive D-man, low league interest. We'll avoid him. Right. So, also, William Dietz could be decent. So, our targets here. Either Don Reich. These are the players I'm considering, so at least you know who I'm considering in case I completely miss here. So Don Reich is definitely a target. Galvas is 100% a target. Zetterberg and Ludeman. Those are the players I have in mind right now. But because we've been burned so many times, when in doubt, take the grinder. Will it work? Probably not. But Carl Galvas is going to be our selection. And there you go. That's about right. 3 out of 5 so far. in this draft. I know he wasn't 20, but still, I wanted to take the risk. And take the risk I did. Oh, let's see. Who did we pass up on? I'm not even looking at overalls and potentials. I just want to know, except for Huberdeau. I just want to know the players that we passed up on. Reich was low top 9. Ludeman was low top 4. Vivieros was half decent. Anybody else? Zetterberg, not that great. So, really, yeah, there could have been maybe slightly better picks, but nothing too crazy. So I don't feel too bad about that selection. It could have been better, though, technically. So who do we have here? We have Wilford. Wes Wilford, 18 years old. Could be half decent. We have Dietz, the grinder, a defensive D-man, and Vesa Pekarainen, who could be very solid. We have an enforcer with high league interest. We also have Pody, which, I already broke my rule once. He really doesn't fit the bill for what we're looking for in this series, though. Like the German that I took in the first round, or the second round, first round. First round, second round, I don't even remember. Second round. Like, the German was at least 6'5", right? He was at least a monster. We changed him to a power forward. Cool, whatever. That guy, exact elite. Yes, it's very tantalizing, but it doesn't fit what we're doing here. Timothy Butler, an undersized enforcer. Pekarainen, Dietz are very much players that we're looking at. Manny Patrick, not so much. Another enforcer in Jean Guru, 19 years old. Wow, my voice is really giving out on me. Tremendous. Igor Kasparaitis is there. Drew Vickers, 20 years old, 6'5", high league interest. That might be my guy. Cedric Swanson is there. No league interest at 17. Anybody else here? And then we get into the 7th round. I'm probably going to regret this, but oh man, it's tough. It is quite tough. Not Kasparaitis. Not Swanson. Who was I looking at before? Was it Vickers? Yeah, it was Vickers. 20 years old, high league interest. You guys kind of know the names I was listing off there. I gotta go with my gut. I don't think he's gonna be good, though. I don't. Oh, this is tough. So again, Wilford. You have Dietz. Wilford at least has decent passing. So that's good. It's not 100% accurate, but I don't know, guys. This is a tough pick with a couple of different options. Like I said, Wilford, Dietz, Pekarainen. Oh, man. Lord knows we've gotten burned on Finnish defensive D-man in the past. Butler is there. Guru is there. Kasparaitis, Vickers, Swanson. A lot of options here. And I don't quite know who to take. I gotta admit, this pick is probably the most difficult pick of the draft that I've had so far. Again, we have Wilford. We have Dietz. Oh, Timothy Butler, I have a very strong feeling is medium bottom 6 at best. Man, I don't know. We have the complete unknown in Pekarainen. And we also have Vickers, who I imagine, much like Butler, will probably be medium bottom 6 at best. We don't know anything about Guru, 19 years old. I'm not expecting him to be great, though. Or Pekarainen. You know what? I have a feeling Dietz is going to be great. But I'm going to go with the unknown enforcer. Jean Guru is the selection. Medium bottom 6, 56 overall. Alright, I didn't really expect anything less. I mean, at least he's not AHL potential, but I am very, very concerned that we just missed out on a potential steal that could have really brought this together. I mean, I'd say we're, 3 good picks, 3 average picks. Obviously, the medium bottom 6 guys being the average picks. Dietz was a better overall, but that's about it. Pody was low elite, no real surprise there. Wilford was a 56, so nothing too crazy. Pikkarainen wasn't great. Butler was worse. Swanson was low elite. So probably should have gone with Swanson, potentially. Low elite, though, you never know. Quite a low overall. Oh, trying to hold off on yawning. Vickers. Vickers was the way to go. Yeah, medium top 9, 61 overall. Vickers was the way to go. And a bit of a steal there for Arizona. Damn. So I don't feel too bad about it. I mean, hindsight obviously is what it is, but you guys know how many players I was having to consider there that kind of fit the bill. I still feel like we're doing all right. If we can get a decent player here, even medium top 9, that'll have this go down as a pretty successful draft. So, see, we got this first power forward here, 20 years old, Gustafsson. He is already the favorite. Riley Wright, I wouldn't mind, but doesn't fit the bill. This guy here, this two-way, doesn't work for us. So, I mean, no doubt Gustafsson is the favorite as it stands. Defensive D-man in Stortini, 17 years old. Could be decent. We have the unknown power forward. Lawrence Ryder, though, also 20 years old. Damn. Gustafsson, we at least have kind of a... I mean, we don't really have an indication on either for how good they might be. We have the grinder in Jared Nickel. Anybody else? We have the enforcer, Frederick O'Sullivan, 17 years old. We have the grinder, Francois Bussieres. I mean, it's definitely not an easy decision, even at this point. Defensive D-man and Anthony Metropolit. We apparently scouted that goalie 10 times, even though he's projected to be undrafted. I mean, to me, while there are some players who could be decent, it comes down to Gustafsson or Ryder. And I'm going to go for Gustafsson. Just because. Gustafsson, please be decent. There, hey, I got what I wanted. Medium top 9, 65 overall. I cannot complain. I got exactly what I asked for. And as a result, again, I would consider this a fairly strong draft, as we'll continue to scroll through here. So I am at least intrigued with how many players we could have potentially selected from. Ryder was a 58. Oh my god. Whew. Can't stop yawning. Funk, medium top 6. Damn it, we're almost through this episode. Let's see if I can make it. Of course, I do want to go through the offseason as well. Nickel was low elite, but a 52. Bussieres was low top 6, a 63. Metropolit was half decent. Verkunen was half decent, but we weren't. Oh my god, low elite enforcer, but he's a 49. I don't know. I mean, I got what I wanted with Gustafsson. Low elites are very inconsistent. Sometimes they end up being great. Other times they don't develop at all. So I can't say that I'm too disappointed. You could argue that there was a better pick there, especially with hindsight. But I feel like overall we ended up with a very well-rounded player. Lawton, the grinder, would have also been a fairly decent option. But for the most part, guys, that is a strong draft for us. We continued to see some solid player progression. The draft went fairly well. I feel like we're still in a pretty good spot. The one question is whether or not we have UFAs coming up, which if we do, that is where it could get interesting, although we do have all the money in the world to offer contracts to certain players. So let's take a look. I'm going to try to make it through this. Just know... Oh my god. Just know that I'm going to keep you on to this extent. Whew. All right, Justice, you know what? You deserve a better contract. Let's sign you up. Let's go like $4 million. Let's give Justice a fairly decent deal. Mikola, still on a two-way deal. We'll give him the max And Lapointe needs to be signed to his first contract, but there we go. We got 4 goalies signed up. Of course, Brodin is apparently our future. Jake Dotchin, I mean, he's still getting the job done as a complete goon. He fits the Goon Squad mold, so we'll bring him back for this year. We'll let go of Engeland. Alexiak and Jacobs. I think I'm going to let go of those 2 for now. Hopefully we don't lose too much morale off of that. McDonough, not happy that Jacobs was released. Shit. That's unfortunate, but we should be alright. Riley Bruce, I'm going to let go of you as well. Zanetti's not happy about that. Well, son of a bitch, guys, what do you want from me? Damn it. Zanetti and Riley Bruce, 2 players we might have to bring back to try and right a wrong. We're going to bring back Ball, Alcock, and Hicketts. Lang doesn't need to be signed yet, so he won't be. Cowan needs a contract. I mean, I had no choice but to let go of those guys, though, because I knew that we were, at least have 1 or 2 free agents that we'd have to bring in. Dalton Galley is 26 at this point, but we're still going to look to bring him in. Lettinen needs a deal as well. And that is that for defensemen. Right wings, Tom Wilson. Do we bring him back? Who are you friends with, I guess, is the important question. Nolan Foote. Right. Well, oh god, let's hold on for a minute. Let's bring back Primo and Flynn. Are there any other right wings I got to worry about? No. Left wings, it's just, more of the same with these type of players. Kerdiles, is there anyone you're friends with? Likens and Brodin. I can let go of Lucia without major consequence, so that's good. Greer, I can let go of him as well. So we'll bring back Nick Kerdiles just because he's on good terms with some of our younger players that we don't really want to get pissed. I mean, if we can avoid pissing off certain players until, we're ready to actually be competitive, then I'm all for it. Give Tom Wilson a decent deal. Is McCarron friends with anybody? I mean, no one that we have to worry about at least. So we'll let go of him. Left wings, we got to bring back Tokarski and Herdina. Give Herdina the max deal as well. We have to sign Arnott. So we'll do that. A coin needs to be re-signed. And Mauer, low elite, also needs an entry-level deal. There we go, we're good there. Centers, oh my god, all right. Well, obviously we're bringing back Graves. That's a given. It's a no-brainer. Try to go $6 million for him. Is John Stevens friends with anybody? Just Turgeon, so we can let go of him. We'll bring back Connor Roberts, of course. Still wanting a 2-way deal. It's a bad sign. How about Tonino, potato, he can go for now. What the fuck, Tom Wilson? It didn't say you were friends with him. Screw you. I am going to bring back Turgeon, though, because he's best friends with one of our players, which is kind of a bad sign. We'll bring back Downing. Well, Wilson, I mean, you might have been good friends with him, but he clearly didn't feel the same way about you. So, if anything, I just showed you something about a friendship you thought you had. I just did you a favor. You should be thanking me, because he wasn't a true friend after all. So there. I'll accept my apology in the form of a box of chocolates and a thank you card. And that's not even, I don't even want an I'm sorry card. Give me a thank you card, because I did you a favor. Tom Wilson accepted. Turgeon declined. Dotchin, Kerdiles, Arnott, Mauer. Is anybody going to reject aside from that one guy? I think we're good. It's looking like it. Yep, we're pretty much good to go. Still at 47 locker room chemistry. At least it's not a 25, which I think was the lowest number I had seen. So, of course, keeping the players that we're drafting is a fairly big help. Let's see. UFAs, just Turgeon. All right, well, Turgeon, I'm sorry, buddy, but you got to go, even if it pisses somebody off, which, surprisingly, at least on the surface, it did not. So we have $42 million in cap space. I know I need to bring in a 5th goalie in case of injury. Aside from that, though, I'm not sure what the defense is going to look like. Obviously, it kind of sucks you can't see player progression until the preseason. That's when one of the other kind of main improvement points happen. We'll look for a goaltender first thing. Who do we want to bring in? Let's look for the veteran. How about a shitty veteran? Svedberg? Tokarski, Matt Hackett. No, let's sign up Matt Hackett. I feel bad for him a little bit. You know, I can give him a max deal too. I feel bad for Matt Hackett, man. Decent goalie in the minors. A lot of injury trouble. Actually saw him get carted off on a stretcher once. Bruins and Sabres in 2014. Get carted off on a stretcher. Sad sight. We'll give him 15 mil. Let's take a look now at kind of what we expect the defensive situation to be. It's what I'm most concerned about as far as player progression goes. So let's see as you get a look at our most valuable players. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so Likens, we can kind of expect to need 2 half-decent veterans, basically. We're not going to see crazy progression out of anybody else who's close. So we need 2 half-decent veterans. And let's see, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We might see some progression. So I'm thinking 2 decent defensemen. Maybe 2 decent defensemen and someone kind of meh. And a couple of forwards. So right now we're at 42 contracts. Let's go over to the old physical category. Who do we got? We could bring back Moran, apparently, and Alexiak. I'll sign... Now, Sassunov would be entry level, so I kind of want to avoid that. We'll go Alexiak. Let's pay him a decent bit of money to try and bring him back. And who else? Charlie McAvoy, by the way, an 89. Good for him. Who else could we bring in that we really haven't brought in? Like, we know Sherratt and Engeland are just going to get pissed. Morin got pissed at us. Jacobs. Perfect. We'll bring Jacobs back. That'll make some people happy, at least until I have to get rid of him again, so that'll be good. Just the never-ending story. And Josh Healy? Honestly, I mean, yeah, his physical category is pretty damn ridiculous. Entry-level deal, though. I kind of don't want to get into that trouble right now. Andre Padan, Dalton Prout, Scott Mayfield. Let's go for Scott Mayfield. Just because, actually, you know what? I don't want to give him a max deal, but we'll still sign him to a decent amount. So those will be the half-decent defensemen. So it's 45 contracts. Now we just need a forward or 2. I could bring Stevens back. I won't. Could bring in Jake Virtanen for the year. That could also be interesting. Oh my god. He's a playmaker, though. Wow, that guy somehow snuck through, huh? We'll bring in Virtanen for the year. I mean, a little bit better than the caliber of player we should probably be bringing in. But still, I'm okay with it. And, who else? McCarron. Auger was there. Greer, Kevin Hayes. Tyler Bertuzzi? Yeah, let's bring in Tyler Bertuzzi. And then we should be good. I mean, depending on certain player progression, the lineup might change a little bit more than expected. And, of course, if someone declines an offer, that could also kind of screw us over. Jacobs is back. Alexiak, Virtanen, Mayfield, Bertuzzi, Hackett have all accepted. Tremendous. Although, I wasn't going to sign any unsigned players. Let me double check the overalls, because I kind of want to leave certain players unsigned for as long as I can, because they still seem to progress relatively well as an unsigned player. Yeah, there's really no one we want to bring in. Wharton can still, end up with a decent bit of progression, but we had what, like $18 million? Yeah, $18 million in cap space. It's going to be worth bringing in one more veteran or one more Goon-style player, could also be a veteran in the process, I suppose, it's going to be worth bringing them in. So let's do that, shall we? And let's have it be... It's got to be someone who's actually willing to accept a one-way deal. Yeah, let's bring back Stevens. Why not? Let's bring back John Stevens. And right about there is good. Sweet. So that should pretty much take care of it. I'm intrigued to see what kind of player progression we'll get. I'm intrigued to see what this team will look like heading into next year. Again, we're in that kind of middle period. We're in that grind where, you know, we're relying on player development. I'm still needing to be very successful with the draft. And I feel like we're hitting on both of those points. Again, I feel like that was a half-decent draft. Certainly better than last year. I didn't miss out on great, better pick after better pick. I won't even say great pick, but there was that one point in the middle of the last draft where, it was a little bit rough, as it was kind of decent pick, and then you watch the computer just blow it out of the water. That didn't necessarily happen. So I'm a little bit, we'll go with optimistic. I'm a little bit more optimistic for our future here after this draft. But like I said, the main thing is seeing what kind of progression we get. And you know what, for the most part, I still feel like we're making pretty good time with these videos. The draft actually took longer than I would have expected. So here we go. To roster moves we go. Goaltending is Brodin, who is now an 82, with Justice, who's a 77. Hackett's the worst goalie on the team, which is solid. We have McDonough, Hines, Likens, Dotchin, Alexiak, Jacobs, and Mayfield, who can get sent down. So that's looking all right. Although we do have too many defensemen. So that's the problem. It's either I send down Dotchin, Alexiak, and Jacobs to call up Hickett's, Alcock, and Ball. That's the problem. I can call them up, and then down in the AHL, we'll have Rourke, Cowan, Galley, Solani, Lettinen, and one of these players. Or we cut some of the dead weight for like an extra 7th round pick. So we are going to have a fairly, important decision to make here. As we're going to send down that duo and call up Aronson. And that's looking all right. So Zach Aronson is going to make the team. Let's see what this looks like if we go from the perspective of making sure our defenders are on the team. So if we drop these guys, and we drop Virtanen and Wilson to the third line, we'll have Aronson there. So we go Wilson, Downing, and Virtanen, Bertuzzi, Stevens, Cardiles. Might as well. I mean, that works out all right. That top line is pretty filthy, by the way. Aronson can play center. Not much better than Roberts, though. So, Foote, Graves, Zanetti, which is a great top line. McDonald, Roberts, and Aronson. That's fairly good. I mean, McDonald and Roberts are clearly, they've been left behind, while Foote, Graves, and Zanetti have continued to improve, but they could still be decent enough players for us. Hines is just locked in at an 82 at this point. Likens has improved. It's just a matter of what do we want to do with the other 3 defensemen on the team. Of course, Brodin at an 82. It's looking relatively okay. And then down at the AHL level, I'm actually going to go roster moves. We're going to call up 3 of those defensemen just so that I don't have to scratch them. So let's call them up just for the moment. And we'll see what the AHL will look like. So goaltending, we know is set. It's Lapointe and Mikkola. Probably better for Lapointe to be the starter, with Mikkola now being 23. On defense, of course, we're going to take Vainio out for Lettinen. And then we're pretty much good. Yeah, I mean, it's looking all right. Not really. I mean, it's pretty shit. It is pretty shit. but at least, 5 of our prospects are in. I mean, Dalton Galley, he's locked in. Solani's not going to get much better. Rourke, Cowan, and Lettinen still have an outside chance. And then as far as forwards go, we are in a similar spot where a couple more people are scratched than we'd really prefer. So now might be that time to just risk it all, so to speak. Not play, these certain guys and just go squarely with the players that we've drafted on our own. That might be the way to go. So Sugar, Primo, and Thompson. Is there anybody else? For Tannen and Wilson. We'll call up Lyson and let's just go Tokarski for keeping it simple. So that is what the team would look like. I mean, let's take a look here actually. Tokarski is like what, 25? 24. And what is Herdina? 22. Alright, so I guess it doesn't matter too much. Would probably make more sense to give Flynn the chance, but he's going to be down in the AHL anyway. So we can either roll with this situation where the NHL lineup is just solely our players. It's not an awful team. Like, we could still be half decent and make it work. Defensively, it's a bit weak. It's just, will that locker room chemistry sink us again and put us in danger of losing certain players if we try this now? I mean, because then otherwise, this isn't too difficult to fix necessarily as far as the AHL squad. Who's scratched at the moment? So yeah, we just put these 4 back in. I actually didn't even mean to scratch whoever the hell I just scratched. So we'll put Cowan back in. Take out Mayfield. Bring in Galley. So basically the only survivor here would be Jake Dotchin. Other than that, we would be good to go. So what do we have for righties right now? So, I'm thinking that would be the lineup if we keep the team the way it is. Like I said, so we have options. Let me know what you think as far as what approach we should take. Do we risk it from a morale standpoint? I don't want to take out Jake Virtanen, though. Or do I? I think I'd rather take out Bertuzzi first, as the dog's hacking up a lung. Doggo, you good? Hairball? I think she's okay. It sounded worse than it was. Hairball. False alarm, everybody. So we'd bring in Barlow. Kurt Dials. I don't even know if that would have picked up on the mic. Let's see. Gabo is in. We'll take out Stevens for Mauer. And then Virtanen's actually going to be out for Chorney. So we could have, technically there are 2 AHL guys I could sign to get rid of Wilson and Dotchin, and we would be down to just simply all of our prospects on our team. It's risky, though, because of the locker room chemistry. So I'm going to stop this episode here. I want to know your opinion. Do we just go with the best lines we can possibly make, having guys like Tom Wilson and Jake Virtanen on the NHL lines, or is now the time? Do we take that leap of faith, and do we go with all of our prospects only at both the NHL and the AHL level? Let me know what you think. I'm going to go pass out. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, you know what you can do to support the video and the channel itself. 7,400 subs strong, baby. Yeah, progress. But yeah, you know the deal. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Notification bell, all that fun stuff. Twitter and Twitch. Links are in the description. Have a good one. Take it easy. I'll catch you later.